Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. This week, I conclude my series on Mekton Zeta by talking about mecha construction, the aspect probably everyone's been waiting the most for. Now, Mekton's kind of unusual in that it has two separate mecha construction rules. It has the simple, basic plug-and-play that is in the core book, and then it has the more involved and in-depth system that you're probably going to use a calculator for in Mekton Zeta Plus. The system called the Mekton Technical System, which is a lot more involved. Guess which one I'm going to be talking about? It's not going to be the simple one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I tell you how to build your god machines. So first and foremost, when you're sitting down to design your mecha, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're actually going to design your mecha, or your GM is going to design it. These are both based on different sorts of games. For instance, Gundam Wing, if that were being played as a Mekton game, most likely the Gundam pilots, the PC heroes, designed their mecha. If, however, you're talking something like Robotech, then most likely the GM designed the mecha there. The reason being is, a hardcore military game, people are going to have mostly the same stuff, so the GM's most likely going to design the mecha there, while a action heroic game in a style like Gundam Wing is going to be something where the players are going to want to say because they're all so different and what they do is so different. But from there, you enter into the first step of the Mekton Technical System, MTS. Your concept. Now, if you are building your own mecha, the GM is going to give you a budget. Either a CP or a monetary budget to determine the price and value of your mecha and how far you can go. Once you have started with your budget, you go to the first step, assembling your frame. Now this is going to be the servos, the various parts that make up a mecha. The arms, the torso, the head, the legs, wings and a tail if it has them. And those are the most important parts. Those are going to determine the overall weight category of your mecha. Now, pretty much, they have to all be about the same. So, if you're a medium striker torso, your head, legs, and arms are all going to most likely be medium striker parts. You can generally do heavier legs than you would do the torso, but your arms can't be heavier. And then you get a special servo. Once you've determined everything else, once you've got your leg, arm, torso, head servos decided, you then get a special servo called a pod servo. This servo does not really have the limits of the others. It can be much heavier than what your current mecha can carry. However, for every 2 levels it's over what your mecha can carry, it reduces your maneuver value by 1. Great example of a pod servo is the Gatling gun arm on heavy arms in Gundam Wing. Because that Gatling gun, it will eventually run out of ammo and tends to get dropped. And once it's dropped, heavy arms gets more maneuverable because it doesn't have that big weight slowing it down. Now, of course, you don't have to go with legs. You can go with wheels and treads. So you could make a mecha with tank legs or hover legs and not humanoid legs. Sadly, they don't really have something that really screams quad legs. But this was before Armored Core, so we will forgive them this small failing. But here's the thing. All these options help determine a number of key factors. First off, every section on your mecha, each servo gives a number of specific factors. Arms and legs have a damage bonus determined by how heavy they are. Arms get a determination of how far you can throw things, or a modifier to throwing things. Everything else, they have a certain cost. They have a certain number of space units that they have available, and a certain number of kills, the amount of damage they can take. Each kill is approximately 25 points of damage to a human. And note, most humans are very squishy. And most mecha damage is dealt in kills, not hits. Now, you can trade space to give a location extra kills to make it tougher, though it can't fit as much in it. You can weaken the structure, reducing the kills, to give you more space. Overall, though, it'll still cost the same, but that is the core of building the framework, the core of your mecha. From this point, you're going to be adding every system onto it. Armor, for instance. And armor, you don't have to make it as heavy as your frame can support, because, it does have a cost, and it does take up space. Now, there's a special type of armor called radiation absorbing material armor. This armor reduces damage from energy weapons, basically, and puts it into your capacitors. Note, if your mech does not have a power pool, you can't take RAM armor. So you're probably going to want to make sure to give your mech a battery or a power core somewhere down the line. Weapons are designed individually. It's not a case of, let's pull this, EL-32 beam rifle and we'll put it on. Oh, look, I'm going to go ahead and give it a Kurosawa. Yada yada. It's a case of, I want to give it a beam rifle. I'm going to give it a triple beam effect, wide beam, and I'm going to give it a burst value. Or I'm going to give it this massive weapon with a warm-up time. So I have to fire it and then wait for it to charge. And then I have to wait for it to charge at the start of a fight, too. And, those are all sorts of different things you can do. You determine the damage, the range, accuracy, how long its warm-up time is, how many shots it has, whether it's a wide angle, and how wide that angle is. How many shots in a burst, if it's clip-fed, if it's anti-missile, if it's anti-personnel. All those things. And those are all important. And that's it. You design your weapon. Your ranged weapon, same as your melee weapons. And yes, you can make your melee weapons and energy weapons physical, not energy weapons, I should say. Your shooting weapons could be Vulcans. They could be firing a depleted uranium slug from a Gauade Avenger cannon. Or you could be firing a Gatling laser rifle. It's all up to you. Everything has cost. Everything has benefits to it. You can split systems between locations. Under certain circumstances, you can split them between mechs. Say for instance, you and another player are going in and you want your mechs to have something really, really cool. Maybe a shield system that, when they're together, covers both of them. Or maybe you want to have a special weapon system that only works with these two mechs. Like, say, a massive lightning discharge between the two. But they've got but it only works between the two. You can split that system between both mechs so that it counts as one system, takes up less space in each, and does its effect. That's a cool sort of thing you can do. And there's so many different possibilities. You pretty much design every weapon system on your mecha individually. from there, once you've gotten the weapons, you start looking at things like shield systems, which again, you design individually. And shields can be energy shields, they can be deflector shields, which bounce the energy attacks off them. They can just be straight up physical slabs of steel type shields. And that's that core system. Sensors work best in the head. I mean, you can put them in other locations, but they suffer a -2 penalty. And, yep, pretty much you pick your sensors based on what they are. And then you get to put other sort of special systems with them, like a spotting radar, target analyzer, radio radar analyzer, etc., etc. And of course, electronic warfare systems, again, are built as individual things. Now, at a certain point, you're going to total up all the kills that your mecha can take, from both the systems you've installed on it to the basic frame systems, and this is going to determine the mecha's weight. Once you've determined the weight, this lets you start adding certain special systems, namely propulsion systems. The cost of these is based on the weight of your mecha. And there are some specific systems, like verniers, which help increase your maneuverability. Of course, thrusters, hydrojets, gravitics, all determine how fast you can make your mech move. But once you've got all those determined, you then get to ask yourself, do I want command armor? What's command armor? Well, you know the armored Veritech? The Valkyrie that was stuck in Battleoid mode because it had these extra armor plating and massive amount of extra missiles? That's command armor. And yes, that is an option. Up to your GM, but it is an option. Yes, your mecha is slower because its weight is heavier while it's got the command armor on. The command armor, though, provides extra amounts of damage you can take and extra weapon systems. And then, of course, once you've gotten that all done up, you enter into the area of, this stuff isn't going to increase the weight of your mecha, but it is going to increase its price. The cost multiplier systems. Power plants, because the more power your mecha generates, the more expensive it is. Special cockpit controls, whether it be manual, whether it be screen control, whether it be a form-fitting bodysuit that gives your feedback to the mecha however you want, that affects the ultimate price. And of course, different sorts of hydraulic systems on it, environmental controls. Maneuver verniers are a multiplier system, and a thing called ACE, ACE, which gives you an extra maneuver pool, is also a multiplying system. And, if your mecha can cloak, or has various stealth systems, that multiplies the price. If it's something big, internal automation increases the price, and so many other things. And basically, once you've got all those systems installed, all these optional extra systems, you total up the multipliers and add 1 to it. Why do you add that 1? Well, because you're multiplying the price. And it's entirely possible with these multipliers to only add up like 0.25 worth of multipliers, or 0.5, or 0.75, or 0.73. So you add that 1 to the result so that it's actually multiplying the price by 1.5 or 1.73 or what have you. The final step of building your mecha is, do you want to use any of the stupid Mekton tricks? What are stupid Mekton tricks, you might ask? Well, dimensional storage, aka hammer space. Expanding plasma. Say you're converting mecha, and it changes to something bigger. That's how that works. Material absorption. Morphable mecha. Mecha's liquid metal. Or, all sorts of other crazy things. Like, it can combine with itself into a single torso servo of box-like shape. Transformation building. Or it's a summonable mecha. Remember when I said you could use these rules to do a Magical Girl anime? Just constructing their Magical Girl transformations as mecha? This is how you do that. Well, this and the Oid stupid Mekton trick are both ways you can do that. And then, and then of course there's the special effects where you can change the laws of physics. But when you get to the end, and all said and done, you have made an anime mecha that is unique. And you're probably going to be doing a lot of work with a calculator. But hey, that's what makes this an interesting game. It's also great for one-shots because GM can just go ahead and throw together the mecha for the characters ahead of time. You could do a serious spy movie type thing where the PCs are all having to steal a specific mecha from a high-tech lab and then get it to where they need it to go, a la Firefox or Hunt for Red October. But ultimately, this basic system is used for everything, whether it be road strikers or massive spaceships. But when all is said and done, you've built what you were starting to do. So with that, I'm going to conclude this video on Mekton and conclude this series for now. Next week I think I'm going to talk about a game that's been sitting in my queue for a bit and is kind of something neat. Next week, I am going to talk about Pugmire. So until then, I'd like you all to remember to have fun and keep gaming.